ones. I also look at those who have lost livelihoods, those who have been maimed. And I'll hear this voice, the blood of the innocent, that is crying out for justice on our streets. When in 2011, a group of Kenyans, including myself, peacefully occupied Jogoo House and evicted Professor Ongeri, demanding that he accounts for 4.6 billion shillings that had been given to free primary education. The worst that was done to us is that non-state actors were hired to come and splash human feces that has been made into a sludge. We were covered in human feces. When we did not budge, they sent a contingent of the JSU. After about 3 days, they arrested us. And we were taken to industrial area, and we are alive today. After the president, by the way, and the courts acquitted us, I should say that. After the president addressed the nation on the 25th of June, claiming criminals had invaded parliament and staff, I took it upon myself to do a hospital crawl. I crawled across hospitals in Nairobi at midnight to try and identify who these criminals were that the president was referring to. At the matter, there were 2 people admitted with rubber bullet wounds, shot at point blank range. At Mbagathi, they had treated more than 40 people for gunshot wounds and discharged them. At the Nairobi hospital, there were 2 people who were admitted. At Kenyatta, I saw 3 bodies, dead people, dead kids, in fact, they were young people. 15 were in ICU with the gunshots to the head. 148 were in the wards with injuries to multiple parts of the body, including a young boy who was about 14, 15, gunshot through the shoulder. I looked at these people. None of them was a criminal. And yet the president had gone on national TV and claimed that criminals had come out, and that's why there was justification for the use of that force, and he said that at all costs, force would be used. So, I see the blood of these children, the mayhem, and the amount of violence that was used here, not justified at all. People cannot be killed under the Constitution of Kenya 2010 for exercising their rights. The right to life is a right that is protected in our Constitution. It begins at conception, ends at natural death. One thing, during the operations, I've been to very many street demonstrations. The first thing that I noticed was out of character was the command structure of the police. I was able to identify some policemen walking alone, not accompanied. And I began wondering, is there a command structure? That was in the morning. So the question was, how was the police operation planned and conducted? Was there a central command? Who were the field commanders? Who were the sector commanders responsible for each section of the streets? And how have they accounted for the deaths and injuries that happened in areas under their command? How did armed men, for the many times I went on the street to demonstrate, there could be there could be policemen in civilian clothes, but they were never armed. They could participate in an arrest, but I have never seen a person dressed in civilian clothes shooting at the public. I've never seen it. Was this a militia? And to whom does it answer? How did these armed men get to join uniformed police? Do the police standing orders, do the force orders allow for that? How many police officers were issued with live bullets? And have the bullets been accounted for? Why was there so much random shooting? How can you have so many people in hospital with gun wounds for a small demo that took place here? What was the president trying to justify? And can he get away scot-free from claiming there were criminals when he can't produce one criminal who was shot dead on our streets? Why is the internal affairs unit of the police being dismantled since the president came into power? Why has Mr. Koome, to whom the unit answers, transferred almost all competent investigators out of the internal affairs unit? And for those who don't know, the internal affairs unit was set up and is properly equipped to investigate crime by the police. They receive reports from the public, they receive reports from fellow officers. IPOA has got no capacity to investigate policemen. IPOA are civilians. Most of them don't understand the operation orders of the police. There's a special unit that deals with this. Why is it that this unit has been dismantled? Starved of funds, competent officers transferred to outposts, and the unit left as a shell. Some of these officers, Mr. Speaker, sir, were trained at a very high expense by the public outside this country in various jurisdictions, but they are now doing clerical work in outstations since the appointment of IG Koome. Such that right now, as we speak, there is no capacity in the police to investigate what happened on the streets of Nairobi. A capacity that had been built to ensure that if there were any issues, they would be investigated thoroughly by the police who understand how police are supposed to operate. Now, the blood of these children who were killed is crying out for justice. Some were killed in this hallowed house. The young man who was making fun in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, sir, why did that young man have to be shot dead? We cannot sit here and discuss these niceties that we are discussing here, complaining and not making a case, yet people have buried children whose only crime was that they went out to say that this country can be managed in a better way. If there's anything that this House can resolve to do and still retain its dignity, is to demand for justice for these kids. We have no other business. Because this country cannot be run the way it's being run. The mayhem that happened across Tom Mboya Street on the other side of the city. For some of us who walked there and saw, it's unbelievable. Forget what happened here. It was unbelievable. The number of people who were shot and killed on those sides is unbelievable. Why are we still having abductions? We are seeing stories in the media that some young men have been abducted after the event and have disappeared and bodies have been recovered. Why is life so cheap in this country? So all that we are speaking here, unless we demand justice for the kids who are killed, unless we demand justice for the blood which is crying out to be atoned, there's nothing we are doing here. We are just repeating, we are just going back to the same usual thing of lulling the country to sleep, pretending that something is being done when absolutely nothing is being done.